Hello and welcome. Thanks for choosing Sapphire Genius. In this session, we are going to take a high-level look at Sapphire's Deferred Revenue module. Should you have any questions or want any more information, please do not hesitate to contact us.
The Sapphire Systems Deferred Revenue module allows you to defer revenue received for goods or services which have not yet been delivered. The revenue is transferred onto the balance sheet until it's time to be converted as revenue based on defined intervals. Once the add-on is installed, under the Financials module, you will see there's a new option called Deferred Postings. Now, before we can start to use the add-on, there are some prerequisites that we have to complete in terms of configuration of the add-on. The first of this is the user-defined table called Sapphire Systems Settings. So this table contains settings that control the behavior of the deferred revenue add-on. And the entries in this table are automatically created with default values when the add-on executes for the first time. So there's a setting here called Enable AR. And if I wish to use the deferred revenue module for the AR side, so invoices and credit memos, I have to select setting value of Y in this column here. If I wish to use the module for expense deferral, I have to set Y in this setting. Also, if you are using the Sapphire Systems Extended Analysis module and you wish to incorporate your analysis dimensions within deferred revenue, then you can set this to yes. So the values in the invoice will get transferred onto the journal entry for the invoice, but also for the deferred revenue journal entries that are created automatically by the module. In this example, I'm using standard SAP Business One functionality, so therefore I set this to no. Now, once you've configured the settings, the second user-defined table that we have to populate is called the Deferral Account Mapping. So again, I'm going to go to Tools, User-Defined Windows, and the Deferral Account Mapping table. On this user-defined table, we specify the code and the name, which is just incremented by 1. And in the type field, we specify whether this is an expense or revenue type GL account. Okay, so this table contains a mapping of the revenue or expense accounts to the deferral account. And the add-on will not populate this table, and it's necessary to have at least one entry in this table for the add-on to work correctly. So in the 3 examples here, I've got revenue in the first row, which is, so the revenue account is a sales revenue account for domestic sales, and the deferral account is specified as 144020. If I select this GL account and I go to the chart of accounts and find that GL account, you can see that this is my deferred income account, and it sits on the assets section of the chart of accounts, so on the balance sheet. And also, if you are using transaction codes in your system to group your journal entries, you can specify the transaction code on this user-defined table, and this will then get copied onto the journal entries created by the Deferred Revenue module. So in the journal entry screen, you can see that we have a transaction code field, and what you can do is you can specify the code of the transaction code in the user-defined table and map it to a GL account. What you can also do here is, for account types expense, you state what the GL account is and also the account that it needs to be deferred to. In this case, this is expense deferral, which sits under liabilities on the balance sheet. So to create a new entry, I'm going to select 004, 004, and say that this is a revenue account, and I'm going to select revenue account here, 400010, and this is also going to be deferred to the 144020 account, which is my deferral account. Press update, and now I'm going to create another one for expense. So 005 is the next code and name, and the type, I'm going to select it as expense, and the expense account is 62000 in this case. And this will also go to my deferred expense account. I'm going to update this. So once you've completed all your mapping, we can then begin to use the add-on, okay, to create invoices and credit memos. So I'm going to expand my Sales AR module and open up an AR invoice. The first thing I'm going to do is select one of my customers, Norm Thompson, and I'm going to select some SAP software. So Norm is buying one quantity of SAP software, and as a part of this I also have some support and maintenance, also some consultancy, it's going to be 10 days of consultancy, and also project management of 3 days. Now you'll notice that the revenue account for my support and maintenance is being mapped to a different revenue account in comparison to the other items on this invoice. And if I drill into this, you can see that this is mapped to my sales revenue support maintenance GL account. Also, what you can do is you can map your project. So I'm going to select that this is the Norm Thompson SAP implementation project. And if you're using either extended analysis or the standard SAP analysis dimensions, you can also specify the codes for those dimensions on the invoice. The next set of fields you'll notice are in relation to the deferred revenue module. So these user-defined fields on the document lines, they drive the way revenue or expense will be deferred on a document at line level. The first field is the deferred revenue field, and this indicates whether a document line should be considered for the deferral process or not. So in the case of my soft support maintenance, I'm going to say that yes, I want this to be deferred, and the next field is Deferred Interval, and this holds the number of months required for the deferral. So I'm going to say this needs to be interval of 12 months, and also the start date. So this field stores the start date of the deferral process. So I'm going to say I want to start deferring this as of today. So my invoice is complete, and I will now post this into the system. Operation completed successfully. And if I browse to the last invoice that was just posted by using the last data record button, and I now go to accounting and open up the journal entry, you can see that I've got a debit to the customer's account, and I've got a credit to the sales revenue account for domestic products, but also for my support and maintenance is going against the GL account 400020. Okay. Now on this journal entry screen, if I go to the next journal entry, you can see that the deferred revenue module has automatically created another journal in relation to this transaction, which is invoice 249, as you can see in the reference to field, and it's credited the deferred income account and debited the sales revenue support maintenance account. Well, 2665 was the amount that was on my invoice, and that's all now been deferred onto the deferred income account. Okay, so now if I go into the financials module and open up deferred postings, on this screen, this is the confirmation of deferred postings. As of this date, this will give me a complete listing of all the document types that either need to be deferred for revenue or deferred for expense. So in the example that we just created, we have the AR invoice. Okay, you can see the business partner or the customer that this is in relation to, the invoice number, the line total on that invoice that's been deferred, what the original start date was, and also the value of the deferral. Okay, and I've also got a link back into the invoice from the screen. So I can see that the value of this deferral is 222.08, so that's 2665, which is the original line total amount, divided by 12, since we deferred for 12 months. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and press execute. You can see there's a system message at the bottom which says the journals were posted successfully. And if I open up the journal entry screen and then browse to the last data record, you can see that now the deferred income account is debited by the first portion, or the first month, and now there's a credit back to the sales revenue support maintenance account. Okay. As well as deferred revenue, I could also defer an expense. So under Purchasing AP, I'm going to open up an AP invoice, and I'm going to select a vendor or supplier, called SAP, and I'm going to buy some software from SAP at £15,000, and this is the GL account that will be posted against, and I'm going to say that the posting date is as of today. So I'm purchasing some software from SAP. What I'd also like to do is I'd like to defer this expense. I'm going to say yes to defer the expense over a 12 monthly period, and as of today is the defer start date. I'm now going to post this invoice into the system and then browse to the last data record. On the accounting tab, I'm going to open up the journal entry linked to this AP invoice, and you can see there's a credit to the supplier account SAP, and we've got a debit to the VAT account and also the software SAP account. Again, if I now go to the next journal, you can see that the module, the deferred revenue or expense module, has now debited the deferred expense account and credited the software SAP account. And again, back to my financials module under deferred postings, I can now see that there's an AP invoice with AP invoice 256. The total of the invoice, or the line total is 15,000, and the value of the expense in this particular instance is 1250. So again, that's 15,000 divided by 12, and I am going to execute the journal. And if I go to the last data record, you can see that the deferred expense account has now been credited and the software for SAP has been debited. Now, an important thing to note is you could also use the deferred revenue side of the module for both invoices and credit memos, and the module will create those journals correctly. And also on the purchasing side as well, it will take into consideration AP credit memos. Now, the add-on also creates in a log table, which is the Sapphire deferred module invoice log. This table here, and what this is used as a basis for the creation of deferral journals at calculated dates. So on this screen you can see, we just leave the examples of the journals that we just created. So we've got a code and name which just increments by one each time, and the document type 13 pertains to AR invoice, and document type 18 pertains to AP invoice. The document key column will show you that this is AR invoice 249, and also which line of that invoice this deferral is happening for. You can see that there's 12 instances, 1 through to 12. Since we said that we want to defer the revenue over 12 months, this is the revenue deferred, well, this is the revenue or expense account that needs deferral. And here you can see that I've got a deferral to revenue option and each instance has a portion that needs to be deferred. Also, the system will calculate over the next 12 months when the deferral needs to happen, and when the journal is processed for that deferral, the module will automatically check each month as and when the deferral journal is posted. So this is a nice complete log of all the revenue or expense deferrals that we've got in the system, the various instances, and whether they've been processed or not. Now you notice that when I created a revenue deferral or an expense deferral, each time I wanted to process the posting, I had to go to financials and deferred postings. What we can also do is configure the module so that when the user logs in and there's a deferred posting to be made, there's automatically a pop-up. The screen automatically pops up when there's a deferral posting to be made. So there's a setting or a user-defined field on the user setup screen, which can be used to show the screen or the deferred posting screen when a user logs into SAP Business One. So under administration, we have setup, general, and then users. And on the user setup screen, you can see that there's a deferred postings pop-up setting. If I set this to yes, if there is a deferred posting to be made when I log into SAP, the deferred posting screen will automatically appear, and it's then up to me if I want to go ahead and execute that posting. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thanks once again.